Hello, it's Bailey and welcome back to my channel. I wore red today so that you hopefully can't tell how sunburnt I am on the 2nd of October. Real embarrassing. I was irresponsible. But today it is time for my September wrap up, and I was surprised when I started going through what I read in September because I thought I had a better month than I had in August and July. My reading had really slowed down those months, and I thought in September it was gonna pick up, and I felt like I did better, but looking through my stats, I didn't really. So we'll get into that, but first I'm gonna start with what I bought and acquired in the month, aka what I spent. This really wasn't a bad month for spending in my books, but I am definitely gonna blow my goal of spending less than $1,000 on books this year. That's already long gone. I overshot that. You'll hopefully be seeing at the end of October or early November a fun little announcement of something I'm going to be bringing back to my channel to have a better plan for my reading and spending going forward. I've tried a few things in the last couple years and I'm hoping obviously to stick to something new, but I'm really excited for what I'm bringing back, so there's that. Stay tuned. But first, I will start with what I acquired for free. Many of you guys know my stepmom is also a huge reader, so she just like reads her books and then gets rid of them. So I kind of have free pick of anything I want from her, which is very kind of her. And so firstly, there was a book that I had already read that she then bought and purchased, and that is Confessions by Kanae Minato. So I now have a copy of this and it will be just going right on to my red shelf. And then we both have discovered that we're big fans of Fredrik Backman. I think she owns almost all of his backlist, but she read and finished Britt Marie Was Here. So now I have this one to add to my TBR. Then the first thing I bought for myself, I knew going on a trip at the beginning of September that I was gonna allow myself to buy a book. And so I did stop at a bookstore when I was on vacation in Colorado and I picked up Notes on an Execution. The only downside to this is I don't know if I will actually want to read this physical copy because it has deckled edges, which are just like, you guys know, terrible to turn. But I've heard really good things about this book and I'm very excited to read it. Mabel is talking away downstairs, so if you hear baby noises at all, she lives here. And so the last book I actually purchased for the month was my book of the month, and I chose Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. And so I only bought 2 books this month, with Notes on an Execution being $24.30 and Love on the Brain, I spent $17.11 on my book of the month subscription. So I spent $41.41 in the month of, what month? September. So now to get into my reading stats, I really only read my required reading for book clubs and read-alongs, plus one other book. I was supposed to be participating in Becca's Bookopoly, but that went bad. The one book that I read outside of the readathons, outside of the read-alongs, was something I chose because of my first roll for Bookoplathon, but then I just really didn't follow through. But I did read 7 books. I physically read for a total of 17 hours, which is where I definitely thought that I had been reading more, but the last couple months I had read closer to 20 hours, and so I only dedicated myself to 17 hours this month. But my page count is a little higher. I read 1,344 pages, and my average reading speed was 79.1 pages an hour. Those are both high because you'll see I did read 4 Magic Treehouse books in this month, which obviously go fast. And I listened to a total of 9 audiobook hours. These next 2 stats kind of line up because I read 6 physical books and 1 audiobook, and then 6 of these books I owned and 1 was from Audible. They match up. I read 3 adult books and 4 children's books. I read 3 books published from 2010 to 2019 and 4 books published before 2010. I read 4 adventure books, 1 fantasy, 1 historical, and 1 nonfiction. And my ratings were 1 1-star, 1 2-star, 2 3-stars, and 3 4-stars, making my average rating for the month a 3.21, which isn't too terrible. I didn't have any 5 stars, but I've definitely had worse months than this. So to get into the actual books, as always, I go from my lowest rated to my highest rated. So starting with my 1 star was the Shelf This Book Club pick for the month, and that was The Library at Mount Char. We've already had a full discussion on this, so I'll just go ahead and link that down below. But overall, I just didn't really understand the book. It wasn't a terrible time reading, but I didn't think that it was a well-crafted anything. It was really confusing. And yeah, I think the general consensus was that it wasn't that good. Then my 2-star book was Sunset of the Sabertooth by Mary Pope Osborne. I'm not really going to get into these. If you're not familiar with Magic Tree House, maybe you should join in the read-along that Martine from Just Martine and Kayla from Kayla Ray Reads are hosting. But we are like on the month reading books 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we are into this a little ways. I do think it's a fun children's series. But book number 7, Sunset of the Sabertooth, landed a 2-star for me. Then at 3 stars, I actually have the nonfiction that was for the Magic Tree House read along. We are reading a nonfiction every other month to go along with the series. And so we read When Women Ruled the World by Kara Cooney. I actually enjoyed this decently. And I said in the live discussion for this read along that for a topic that I wasn't really that interested in, it did grab my attention. And there was a lot of information here that I didn't know much about. It was basically about Egyptian times and when women ruled during those times. It was interesting. And then my other 3-star was Ghost Town at Sundown by Mary Pope Osborne again. Then at 4 stars, I had Dolphins at Daybreak. And then my favorite for this month was Midnight on the Moon. But then the one novel I actually chose for myself was my favorite book for the month, and that was actually The Dream Daughter by Diane Chamberlain. And this is a book that I've owned for a couple years at least now, and so I was excited to get to it. I had kind of diminished my excitement for it. Obviously, I had held on to it for quite a while, but actually when I sat down and started reading this, I really loved it. This deals with time travel, which I think maybe I'm into now. I didn't think I would be, but I really enjoyed that aspect in here. So if you know any other time travel books I need, please do let me know. But this follows our main character in the 1970s. She finds out she's pregnant after her husband has died in the war. And so she finds out she's pregnant, and then she finds out that her baby has a condition that means it's not going to live after it's born. And then she finds out that somebody she's very close to happens to know how to time travel, and so they say that they can send her to the future to a time when there is the advancements to be able to save her baby. And so yeah, that's the story. She basically goes and tries to save her baby through this time travel, and it was good. I would recommend this to a certain set of people. I don't think this is something everyone would enjoy, but I would specifically recommend this to people who are parents. I just think the aspect of like doing anything to save your child, and yeah, I thought it was really good and it really hit home for me. So this one was a 4.5 star, not quite a 5 star, but again, my favorite of the month. And so that's that. That was my September. I am looking forward to October. I have already posted my October TBR, and the Squash That Series Readathon is in our 5th round in the month of October. So I have big plans for October. So hopefully my numbers will actually be up in October, not just like in my mind, me thinking that I'm doing really well. But thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!